tell me about the timeout rooms. What are those? What are they used for?
Well, we have 4 timeout rooms. The kids go in there to cool out. Sometimes they had, if it's a fight on the unit, we'll contain them there before they are shipped to the special housing unit. They can also go in there voluntarily if they're having problems on the unit or need to distance themselves because they're getting frustrated. They can use that. They can stay in there up to an hour, and then we'll send them back to the unit, provided that they're calm. If they're not calm, then we'll have to extend that time, but we'll have to monitor them on the cameras. And also we as staff, if we see them in there and they're playing too much and they're causing disruption, if I see it or the officer sees it, then we'll remove them from the unit because it's, you know, inciting a riot or something like that. And we want to contain, you know, any violence or the threat of violence. So to keep them safe and others safe, we'll use the timeout rooms.
So tell me about the kids in this particular unit. What are they like? Tell me about these kids.
These are, I work with the sexual offenders. We have everybody here from the ages of 10-year-old to 18. We have some 19. If they have placement issues, they may have to stay a little longer. We have them, C7 is our young offenders. They're from 10 to 16. When after they reach 16, then we'll separate them and they'll go either to 5, which is a medium risk unit as far as their sexual offense, and C8 and C6 are higher risk. So we'll separate them as far as risk. And then they'll get their treatment from their counselor. Each unit has a counselor, and then we have a head counselor who's Counselor Grayhouse. And we just meet their needs and make sure that they have a placement when they leave. They're usually here anywhere from 8 to 12 months, sometimes longer. It just depends because discipline, treatment, and placement all plays a part in this. So.
What have you seen some of the kids do? Sorry. Have you seen them, you know, act out physically? I mean, in the timeout rooms, even banging the doors?
Yes.
Some things you've seen.
Timeout rooms, yeah, because a lot of them are letting off steam, so they will hit the walls, they will hit the door, they'll cuss a lot. If we feel that they're a threat in the timeout rooms and they say they're going to kill themselves or something, we have a medical, 24-hour medical, so we'll use our medical staff and they'll keep a monitor on them, and if it gets to the point where it's really getting bad and they're hurting themselves real bad, then we have a padded cell, so we'll talk to Dr. Craig, who's our social psychologist, and we'll send them down there if we have to, because we have a medical unit that has beds that'll house them. It's called shelter housing. So if they need closer observation, they'll go there. But we'll observe them if they're just really frustrated, hitting the wall and saying they may kill themselves or something. We have to observe them, and we'll use the cameras.
What does your experience tell you about what these kids have been through before they've come to Pendleton? Have they had a hard life at home? What do you kind of get from them?
Sometimes they'll actually come out and tell us. Some of them share their offense, some of them choose not to. Eventually they all will. They have low impulse control, so everything's immediate with our sex offenders. They want it right now, right then, right when they ask, and when they don't get it, sometimes we have the frustration. They're not really as violent though, they don't really fight as much, but they, like I said, the impulse control is a big problem over here. They're right now, right, you know, they'll get aggressive when they can't get their way, but for the most part, they're pretty calm. I enjoy working with them, but you know, some of them you can tell if they had a hard life, but then because they're not as trusting, but then you develop a rapport with them, and then they'll get a little more trusting, and then they calm down and they kind of mesh. So they usually are just about how you see them now, very clean most of the time. I enjoy working with them.
So what kind of sex, I mean, a lot of people don't realize that, you know, there are kids who are sex offenders.
Mm-hmm.
What are we talking about as far as types of offenses?
Oh, a little bit of everything. I'll let Grayhouse go into more detail with that because he handles all their cases as far as treatment, so he knows each individual case, so I'll let him discuss that with you.
What's your hope for these kids?
Well, that they'll get out and won't offend again, that the treatment actually works, and that, you know, a lot of them, and that they'll get a placement that'll take care of them and won't abuse them again. Because some of it is abuse, then it's followed by abuse. They'll abuse somebody else, you know, victimized, then they victimize others. So I'm just hoping that they'll get a placement where they can feel safe and secure and, you know, won't commit another offense, that the treatment is successful. That's our goal, so I'm just hoping that works out.
Final question. What's it like for you coming to work every day? Tell me about coming to work every day.
Coming to work every day. It can be stressful because not only am I in charge of the offenders, which is 96, I'm also in charge of the staff. I'm in charge of this complex, making sure it's clean, making sure that I meet all their needs, whatever the officer can do for them, then I have to step in and do, handling all small problems, defusing problems, verbally de-escalating. I do that all day. So, I mean, you know, sometimes it's stressful. Sometimes I come in and everything is just right on beat. You know what I'm saying? Because they know what I expect. But sometimes if I come in late, like today's my late night, sometimes the morning could have been rocky for me. Then I got to come in and calm everything down. So it just depends. But I enjoy it. It's stressful, but I enjoy it, you know. So that's about my day in Pendleton Juvenile Correctional Facility.
Incident, I believe it was last week. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened?
To be honest with you, I'm not sure exactly what all happened. It was time for dining hall. I informed the kids it was time for dining hall, get their coats on, their shoes on, walked up to shut the TV off, and one of the mates blindsided me, hit me in the face. Next thing I know, I'm picking myself up off the floor about 5 feet away, trying to fight him off because he was still kicking me and hitting me. And one of the other offenders actually helped before staff was able to get to me.
So no warning whatsoever?
No warning whatsoever. He just snapped it. Rumor has he was mad at another kid and I was in the way.
So here you are just doing your job, turning off the TV, and the next thing you know, you don't even see it coming.
No, didn't even see it coming at all. He hit me in this side of my face, knocked my glasses off, they went flying, and like I said, next thing I know, I'm on the floor. Don't even remember him initially hitting me. And like I said, other kids pulled him off of me. Staff got there, helped lock everybody down. I went to med check, then to the ER. Ended up with the white part of my right eye. The clear coat was cut, and my jaw was spread. Could have been a lot worse.
You know, it's funny, we've talked to so many officers who, you know, these kids can be very impulsive.
Yeah.
Like we said, you never know when something might happen. But you really like working with the juvenile population?
Yeah, I enjoy him. I really enjoy him. I've been here about 17 months, and this is the first time anything's happened. I get along with the kids, don't normally have any problems with them, and I was just in the right spot at the wrong time.
Have you talked to him at all since this happened?
No, I have not seen him or heard from him. Right now I'm on administrative work until they release me, because I'm on, my restrictions are no inmate contact and soft foods. Is about all the restrictions I have because of my jaw being sprung.
So does it concern you at all about going back out on the unit?
I'm a little apprehensive over it, but you know, what's the chances of it happening again? I don't know. I mean, it could happen one day I go back in there, and then it could not happen for who knows how long. You know, there's no saying when it's going to happen again, if it's going to happen again.
So after the attack, he was taken to SEG?
Yes, he was put in SEG, and he actually walked up to the sergeant when he walked in the unit and put his hands behind him and said, "I did it." I don't know why I did it, but I did it.
So it's almost like there's some little sort of mental disconnect that they...
Yep.
What would you want to say to this kid if you were able to talk to him?
Just, you know, why? You know, what was going on in his... I'd like to know what was going on in his head when he did it, you know. As to why. You know, as far as I know, I did nothing to make him mad or anything. We'd had a good day and everything was going great. You know, it's 4:15 in the afternoon. They'd all been complaining they were hungry, and I would have thought he would have been excited to go to dinner. Instead, they all got delayed for a while.
You know, it's amazing. We found out about your case because when we were in SEG, we didn't know who he was, but he was asking us to come over to his cell. And he told us a story about how, I beat up a big male officer who was much bigger than me. And does that surprise you that he would make up that story?
I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what was going through his head, and where he got a big male officer is beyond me.
going on in his mind that isn't quite there. What would you want people to know about these kids that you work with day in and day out?
For the most part, all of them are good kids. You know, they've got their problems, but most part, I think they're all good kids, and you just, you know, got to go with the flow, you know. Try and keep your eyes open at all times, see what's going on around you, you know. Only thing I can say is, you know, watch who's behind you. You know, because like this, I didn't see him coming. I just walked up, like I said, went to shut the TV off, and he was behind me, come up behind me, and I didn't see him coming.
Are you surprised at all that it was another offender who helped assist you?
No, I'm not. Because like I said, I get along pretty good with all of them, and they're all, a lot of them, especially me being a female, don't like the fact that they hit females. And so therefore, you know, it's like you always hear them say, you know, the males, you know, you hit another male, that's one thing, but don't hit a female.
That's interesting.
So they're kind of protective of the female officers.
So what do you think his future is? Do you know what
I have no idea. I know they're pressing additional charges against him, but other than that, I'm not sure. I know he was on release level to get out of here. It was just a matter of a couple weeks, 2-3 weeks. Other than that, he'll probably end up going across the street for a while.
So he was that close to getting out?
Yep. Not now. He'll be here for a while.
Any final words you want to say for people who go, oh my gosh, what a dangerous job, and you know, I think
It just takes a special person to do it, you know, to be here. Not just anybody can do this. You know, like I said, I've replayed it in my head to see if there's anything different I could have done. Yeah, you never know when it's going to happen, especially when they blindside you. There's no way you can even protect yourself.
Do you like being a corrections officer?
Yeah, I do. I have a good time.
Well, good luck in the healing process.
Yep, it just take time to get all the bruises and everything away.
So how long will you be on administrative duty? Do you know when you'll be back out?
I don't know. In fact, today I go back to the doctor to be reevaluated and see where we go from there.
Are you ready to get back out on the unit?
Some days I want to, because I know if I don't get up and get back in and get back to it, then, you know, it's just, you know, the thoughts are always going to be there, what's going to happen when I go back. But I'm definitely not made for a desk job. Definitely not made out for a desk job.
You'd rather be out amongst the kids and working with the...
Yeah, I'm able to get up, get around, you know, talk to the kids, and in and out, you know, inside, outside. And
well, hopefully that'll happen sooner versus later.
Yep, I hope. Probably a couple weeks, but I hope.
This is the recreation department, leads off into the school. Once again, the physical plant wasn't really designed for what we're doing. All these are false ceilings. So we had to go through, after some problems where some inmates got into the ceilings, got over the firewalls, caused a little bit of damage. Had to go through, put motion detectors in all these ceilings. And they've got 3 or 4 alarms on them. Got the alarms both inside the building here and then on the outer portion of the building so yard staff can hear it when it goes off. And since they put them in, they haven't gone off. This is a school. Of course, it's shut down this afternoon for treatment teams, so we're doing some cleaning, polishing floors, sweeping up, mopping. And other than that, there's not much going on here today. Be a lot busier tomorrow morning.
How many kids go here every day?
A little over 200 at a time. Biggest part of our population will be in here for the biggest part of the day during the week.
Tell me about sprinkler heads, motion detectors, false ceiling, and any incident in detail that has happened regarding this.
Just shortly after I started working here, they've had several instances of offenders climbing up in the ceilings because these buildings weren't really built for what we're using them for.
Sorry, the phone's ringing. So, go ahead.
In the short time that I've worked here,
From a unit.
Beginning to work here, and I think so.
let me make this go away. Captain Warner. Maybe they'll get the picture.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
One of the first real problems I experienced when I first came to work here was offenders climbing up in the ceilings. These buildings were all made with false ceilings. They're not really designed for what we use them for. In order to do away with that kind of problem, we had to go in and install motion detectors above all the ceilings, particularly in this building. Since our rec department is right down at the end of that corridor, and then this is our school building, we didn't really want them up in the ceilings here because the access they had to other parts of the building. So we put the motion detectors in to stop that problem. Ever since we put them in, those problems haven't existed. They know they're there, so they just don't test them.
Are there any problems with like sprinkler heads or smoke detectors or anything being tampered with?
Not particularly in these buildings, but in the housing units,
I'm sorry, wait, I'm so sorry. I should have told you, like when I ask a question, if you can kind of refer to my question in your answer, like the sprinkler heads and the, do you know what I mean, instead of just answering,
Okay.
not particularly, or,
They're not gonna hear her voice,
Yeah.
so if you don't incorporate the question,
Okay.
there's no way that we'll know what you're talking about.
Okay, I understand.
sorry about that, I should have told you.
The sprinkler heads in the programs building, the services building aren't a real issue. They are an issue in the housing units because they're isolated in their rooms, of course, door locked, and they'll pop the sprinkler head just to create a problem or out of boredom. Some of our more secure housing units, we've worked our way around those problems, but in the general population units, it continues to be a problem, but it seems to be decreasing. So the sprinkler heads are an issue, but they're not a big issue at the moment.
Okay, and I'm gonna ask you just a general question. What's your job here and what do you oversee in your position?
My job here at the facility is custody supervisor. I carry the rank of captain here at this facility. And my job is to oversee all the security functions of the facility, all custody operations.
How long have you been working in corrections and what, how many years down the line is this place included?
I've been working in corrections for the last 21 years. I started across the street at Adult Maximum Security, worked there for about 20 years, and I transferred over here about 6 months ago, and I got promoted to captain here just right before Thanksgiving.
And would you say that working with juveniles is more challenging or easier, or how would you describe working with juveniles versus adults?
Working with juveniles is much more frustrating than working with adults. Adults have a sense of, lost the word,
Maybe what's at stake or,
there's consequences for adults. If adults behave poorly, there are consequences directly related to their actions. And they understand that. Juveniles don't understand the consequences. They behave irrationally, and in 5 minutes it's over. An adult, if you have a confrontation with an adult at an adult facility, you have to kind of look out for that adult for the next year. Here it's over in 5 minutes. They're not mad, for the most part. And they don't understand the consequences of their actions.
how does that make your job easier or more difficult?
Makes my job more difficult because due to the lack of consequential actions that we can take, as opposed to what you can take with an adult offender, determinate sentencing, you can directly affect when that adult gets out. Juveniles don't have it. So you have to come up with other methods to get your point across.
Great, is there anything else you want to tell us about this facility or about your job, or is there any danger involved working here?
For me personally, no, I don't think there's a whole lot of danger involved working here, or at least not more or less than any other staff. The staff that are working directly on the units, they need to be security minded at all times, because if they're not security minded at all times, the offenders will take advantage of that. I'm not directly dealing with them enough to put myself in that situation. If I were, then that'd be another story, but.
So your staff members are the ones who are in direct contact with them, and how does that influence, your staff?
I think for the most part, my staff try real hard to be security minded. Sometimes they forget they're dealing with offenders. These are all juveniles, they're all kids, they're still offenders. And they forget that. And when they forget it, they tend to have problems. But for the most part, they do a very good job, really good job.
Are the consequences serious for the members of your staff who lose consciousness of their security issues?
They can be very serious. That we've had batteries, we've had assaults, even offender assaults. That's all security related. So if you're not paying attention to what you're doing, somebody, including yourself, can get hurt.
So how dangerous is this for your staff?
If they're doing their jobs and they're doing their jobs well, they shouldn't have any problems. Or their problems should be very, very few.
Even given the unpredictability of kids
Even given the unpredictability of kids, if they're doing their job, following policy and procedure, my staff's risk should be very much reduced.